Okay, so we're holding on to Vav Amud Aleph. It said yesterday, I guess we should first say that the base is a vice, a house with an ani eating his bread and salt, and standing in shoulders and Kohen saying Kriyishma. Rav Gimel is 3 camels standing in ruins, the first carrying a lion and a dove, the second carrying a Leonavi, the third carrying Rav Melech. Rav Dalet is a door, Dalet spanning from Geula, the neighborhood, to the Kosel, on top of which stands David Melech in his Chassid costume, and Dav Hay is Rabbi Yochanan lying on a haystack, trying to say Kriyishma Levit and stave off boogeyman and suffering, but he's suffering terribly because of the little needles of hard grass sticking into him from the haystack. Now we're on Dav Aleph. So at the end, on Dav Hay on the base, we had transitioned into a statement from Abba Ben Yamin. I said, and I still say, I don't really know the true nature of that segue, but we ended up having 4 statements of Abba Ben Yamin. I told you I put them in diamonds, his name in diamonds anyways. So the first 2 we saw 2 sessions ago, let's call it, on last Tuesday. The first one was about, he was mitzvah to always to dive right next to his bed, next to, meaning temporarily next to, not physically next to, and then we said he also was careful to have his bed on the north-south axis, and so the Shechina apostles like that. And then secondly, he had said that if 2 people are diving together, one should leave before the other one, and we discussed perhaps that it applies where it's a scary place or dangerous place. Either way, if you wait for your friend, in that scenario or all scenarios, you have reward. And then he went on to say, yesterday we picked up a third thing, that the mazikin are everywhere. If the eye had permission, that's his idiom, the eye had permission to see them, then we wouldn't be able to stand up before them. And we discussed mazikin for a little while yesterday. And then he had a 4th statement we said right at the end of the shir yesterday, which was that a person's prayers are only heard in the basic Knesset. We explained that to mean are only certainly heard. If a person prays the Yechidus by himself, his prayers will only certainly be heard by Hashem if he does it in basic Knesset. Otherwise, he is taking his chances that Hashem will not pay attention to him, being just a single person, not special kavanos, whatever the story is. I did say in the last minutes that there is that applies to a Yachid, but a Tzibur, a minion of 10 people who are praying, Hashem is there with, I won't say explicitly today, but Hashem is there and listens to them, even if not in the base Knesset. And it seems that 10, you're better off if you have to choose between you by yourself and a base Knesset, or 10 people diving with a minion, not in the base Knesset. The latter, diving with a minion, is preferable, just in terms of Hashem hearing you. It goes without saying, you can't say Davish Kedusha like Yesh Me'erav and so on and so forth. In any case, so that was the 4th statement of Abba Ben Yamin, and he had brought a proof because that the drasha was the Shmuel Arena Villa Tefillah. The drasha was B'Makam Rino, the place where they sing. Close those windows, please. Actually, the AC on and it's noisy. We said the place where they sing, that's a place where prayer should happen, and therefore I close off by saying it's proper to have singing in a shul, and that it seems to have some sort of mile which makes the shul more kind of place Hashem love to hear people's feelings.
Depends who's singing.
So, sorry?
I said it depends who's singing.
Depends who's singing. So those are the 4 Malmaros of Abba Ben Yamin, and now we're done with him, and now we're like transitioning ever further away, and today we have a new Memra, Amarav, we're on line 25, Amaravin Bar Rav Adam Rav Yitzchak. So he will have a couple statements back to back. The first one here is once we talk about Hashem being present for your tefillahs. Ben Yamin had said Hashem will abandon you if you don't wait for your friend. Then he said that was number 2, and number 4 of the statements was that Hashem is more prone to hear your prayers in the shul. So he said Minayin, and how do you know? From where textually do you know? Shekadosh Baruch Hu Matziv Beis Knesses. How do you even know that Hashem can be found in a Beis Knesses? It's much from Rashi. We mean just the building itself, not even if someone's praying there, but Hashem, the Shechina, whatever lingers about, and it's present in Beis Knesses. And there are certainly halachas of special reverence one must have in a Beis Knesses. All sorts of things a person can't do there because the Shechina is present. Shenemar, you know that from the pasuk which says Elokim mitzav ba'adas kel, which means God stands, Nitzav means like stands ready, in the Adas Kel, in the congregation of God, translates clumsily. But the understanding, according to Rashi anyways, is the place where the Eidah, the people are, Hashem's people are congregating, the base Moad, that's Rashi's Lashon, that's the place where Hashem is to be found, and Nitzav, which would imply he's there waiting, ahead of time, so to speak. He's there all the time, he stands around and lingers there, in the place there. So that's the place itself, the place, all the words really mean is in the congregation, which might imply where the people are. But Rashi says explicitly that we're talking about the place, the bias, that the base moed, the place of meeting, like Ol Moed, and that is where Hashem is to be found, and that's the source, the proof text. So once we're on that, uminayin, and how do you know? La'asar shemispalin, if you have 10 people and they pray, Shechina mahem, that the Shechina is with them. Shneimar, because the pasuk says the same pasuk, Elohim nitzav ba'adas kel, that Hashem stands within his congregation. Here the word Eidah is being used as a reference. We'll see this elsewhere another time, but the word Eidah is what's the word I want? There's a drush going on here. There's a drush going on here that it just doesn't speak out here. That when they were the Meraglim, Hashem complains how long we have to tolerate this nasty Eidah, and who's the Eidah? Those are the 10 Meraglim, the 10 spies. But from the 12 spies. But of the 12 spies, 2 of them, namely Yoshua and Caleb, were not from the nasty variety, they're from the good variety. So when Hashem refers to an Eidah that he has to deal with in the, within, so that is a group of 10 that he has to deal with. So you see that 10 can be called an Eidah. That drush later on is to be used, but not here. The halachas of minyan come from there, that same thing, which is fascinating. An Eidah is a negative sort of thing in this context, but I'm sure elsewhere to be a tikkun to those, that bad Eidah and rejection. In any case, so an Eidah refers to 10 people, and therefore, how do you know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is matzui with 10 people who are davening? Because the pasuk says, in Adas Kel, in an Eidah, in a group, a minyan of 10 people, that's where Hashem will be found. That's 10. U'manayin, how do you know Shlosha? Forget 10. 3 people, Sheyoshvin Bedin, that are sitting in their dayanim, and they're making a din Torah, they're acting as judges. Shechina imahem, that the Shechina, divine presence, it's a long story in its own right, but Hashem's Shechina is something like relationship of Hashem personified, like the relationship possibility with Hashem being manifest, that Shechina. So there's this Kudsha Brichu, who's like, he is Kadosh and totally dull and separate. So then Shechinte, his Shechina is like the aspect of him, so to speak, that one can have a relationship with, does have a relationship with it, interfaces with us. So Kudsha Brichu is way out there, accessible, present, the divine presence. It's palpable, it's present. So I know that Hashem's presence and relationship aspect, if you will, is available to 3 people who are sitting in judgment. Yeah. So, because the pasuk says Shneimar B'kerev Elohim Yishpot, this pasuk should be translated correctly as in the midst of the judges. Elohim here means like a lower, means judges. The name Elohim connotes any source of power. So here judges are power entities. Elsewhere, of course, it could be Elohim meaning Hashem, or Elohim Acherim, other forces that people ascribe force to. In all cases, here, the pasuk is saying, B'kerev Elohim, in the midst of the judges, Yishpot, he shall judge, he, capital H, being Hashem. So you see, Hashem like judges from the midst of the judge. Hashem is Shofet, he judges from within the midst of the Dayanim, the judges. So you see that's 3. We learned in Sanhedrin that it's based and requires at least 3. So 3 there. How do you know even 2 people? Sheyoshvim v'oskim b'Torah. 2 people are sitting and osik b'Torah, learning Torah. Shechina imahem, the Shechina is with them. Shneimar, because the pasuk says, Az nidbru yirei Hashem ish al rehu. Then, I don't have the whole pasuk here, one second, because the whole pasuk is in Drush. The whole pasuk here, I'll read it out to you actually, reads, Az nidbru yirei Hashem ish al rehu. And then the yirei Hashem, those who fear Hashem, will speak one to his friend, whatever. The pasuk continues on, V'yakshev Hashem. Hashem will. Yakshev means has a double entendre. It means to be lakshiv, means to pay attention to, and also means to wait around for. So Rashi emphasizes the latter explanation. In other words, the Pashup Pshat would mean Hashem is paying attention, but that wouldn't necessarily mean Hashem is present. But the fact that Hakshava also means Hashem waits there, meaning Hashem is like waiting there and present with them as the Yirei Hashem speaking to his friend. The Yishma, and Hashem hears. The pasuk continues on. I'm not reading from the pasuk, not from the Gemara. The Yishma, Hashem hears what they say. V'yikasev sefer zikron lefanav, and a book of remembrances, like chronicles, are written before him. L'yirei Hashem, for those who fear him. U'lechoshvei shemo, and those who are choshev, which means like to think about his name. Period. That's the whole pasuk. So we're focusing on the first part of it, which is how to know that there is Hashem in the presence of two people who are Yoshim v'Oskim b'Torah, because it says Hashem ish l'rehu, when two people who are Hashem speak one to the other, v'yakshev Hashem, Hashem is present, waiting there with them, standing by. So that's the Gemara. That's the Gemara says here. Menan l'shnayim she'osh v'Oskim b'Torah, Shechina mahem shneimar az nidbru yirei Hashem ish l'rehu, v'yakshev Hashem v'gomer. The Gemara says v'gomer. Sometimes it says v'chule, and sometimes it says v'gomer. This is an important rule to know. The rule is, there was exceptions, but the rule is when it says v'gomer, it means and finish it. Like it's a right, and that means that the ... doesn't mean we're cutting off short because we've said what we have to say. The point is like I don't know how to describe it, but the Gemara for some reason felt it written enough. But you need to go to understand what's going on. You need to go to the end of the pasuk. Go means and finish it yourself. V'chule means etc., like on and on. Meaning it doesn't matter what happens next because we've made our point. But v'gomer means if the point hasn't been made yet, or at least not full, you must sort of finish it yourself. So that's an important thing to know. V'gomer and finish it yourself. V'chule etc., and I've said enough, but it goes on because the Gemara. Look how the Gemara. You see that very clearly because the Gemara here like pounces. My ulechosh ve'shmo. Hey, what does it mean when it says ulechosh ve'shmo? Who said ulechosh ve'shmo? I won't say anything about that. But I read the whole pasuk. The pasuk ended that those two Hashem sits and he's v'yakshev. He sits with them, the two Yirei Hashem, and it's written in the Sefer Zikaron, the book of memories, and also for the Yirei Hashem, and also ulechosh ve'shmo. Now, if we read the pasuk again, I'll read it to you again. The words ulechosh ve'shmo, those who contemplate his name, something like that, are seem totally extraneous, so superfluous, because it says Ad Yirei Hashem ish al rehu, people who speak one to the other, Yirei Hashem, v'yakshev Hashem, Hashem is present, v'yishma, he listens, v'yikasev sefer zikron lefanav, he writes it down in his book of memories, lefanav, before him, v'yirei Hashem, for the sake of Yirei Hashem, or the subject of the sentence. The subject of the sentence was Yirei Hashem who are speaking, and he writes it down for them. And then it says ulechosh ve'shmo, and he also writes it down for those who contemplate his name, think of his name. So what's his last two words coming to add? Say, what's the point? And that's what the Gemara is picking up on. So I'm speaking out the two, I read the whole pasuk. You can't understand the Gemara's discussion without being v'gomer, finishing the pasuk, which we did. So the Gemara says, sort of parenthetically, wait a second, we're off topic, it's parenthetical. But the end of that pasuk says, ulechosh ve'shmo. And for goodness sakes, what's it going to add? Amravak, so my ulechosh ve'shmo. Amravashi, it teaches you, and this is another of my triple underlined like Shas classics. Chashav adam la'asos mitzvah. If a person has intention, he thinks to do a mitzvah, v'ne'nas, but he's an onus. That means to be onus means that you're not acting in your own volition. Someone else or something else's will is what's governing your actions. That's what it means in general. So you could be ne'nas, means you put a gun to your head. Or a woman could be raped, or an onus, a nusim, or they forced converts. So someone who's an onus means that he might have done something, but it wasn't because he wanted to do it, it's because some external force or will acted through him or prevented him from doing his will. So the guy's nanas, meaning he intended to do a mitzvah, but he couldn't because despite his will to do it, something got in the way. V'lo asa'a, and therefore he didn't do it. Ma'ala alav hakasav, it's written in the books as if, something like that. Ki'ilu asa, as if he did it. I think, if I wouldn't know that this same phrase comes up elsewhere, ma'ala alav hakasav, I would think it's something very low. It's such a weird idiom, in my mind, that I would think it's coming because of this very pasuk, because the pasuk says, it's written down in the book of Chronicles before Hashem Zikaron, so I would think Ma'ala alav hakasav means it's like goes up and is written down as if he did it, and it goes to the book of recordings. It's so strange an idiom to me that I want to believe, I stand to be corrected, but I want to believe that this is like the granddaddy, this is the granddaddy, the source of this idiom, and every time elsewhere in Shas we're talking about Ma'ala alav hakasav goes up as if, it's written up as if, I don't know, it's written up, I can't translate, Ma'ala alav, it goes up for him, hakasuv, the verse, the writing. It's a reference to this very idea, this very pasuk here in Malachi, that Hashem has some sort of book of memories and, the scorecard up in heaven, and that's what it means. So here we're saying, even though he didn't do the mitzvah, in the scorecard in heaven, or the chronicles in heaven, whatever, his act is written down as if he did it. As if he did it, because he wanted to do it. So that's a triple underliner in my Gemara, because that's a very famous memra that people know, that people refer to, that if you intend to do a mitzvah and you don't, it's written as if you did it. This, by the way, only applies to Jews, worth noting, and it's based on, period, this rule only applies to Jews, but there it is. So that's Uchosh Beishamo. People have been thought to do something, get credit as if they did it. This idea of a book of memories is very strange. In case you think about it, what is it supposed to mean? What is it? So it's interesting that the Tzaddik Cohen, the Tzaddik, he writes that that Hashem's memory, if you will, I don't know, Hashem's book of memories, let's call it, is the collective consciousness of humanity. That people's memories, it's something like this is a memorable event because you interact with another person, and therefore it has impact on your mind and your memories. And Hashem's collection of human memories is his book of memories. Very interesting. It's interesting. It also answers the question, but it's just strange. The Meiri himself was a Rishon, farther from the Rav Tzadok, was like a quasi, is Hasidic, whatever he is. Tzadok. But so the Meiri also says that it's basically people remember it. In other words, it's memorable because you interact with somebody else. If you don't learn with someone else, you don't really remember it. It just kind of all blurs together. But you recall having this conversation, and therefore it has an impact on you, and perhaps that then has sort of some eternity. In any case, so without losing the forest for the trees here, we said in 9, how do you know 10 for Binyan, 3 for Dayanim, 2 sitting and learning Torah, that Hashem is present, and we said it's pasuk, Hashem is the Yakshev. So in 9, how do you know shefilu echad, even one person, sheyoshev osik b'Torah, he sits and learns Torah on his own, Shechina imo, that the Shechina is with him. Shneimar, the pasuk says, "B'chol hamakom asher azkir es shemi." In any place that now azkir is Hashem talking in the first person, calls me, saying anywhere where I cause my name to be mentioned. So it's Hashem says anywhere where I let my name be mentioned. So then avo elecha, I will come to you, uverachticha, and bless you. And elecha here is, as Rashi points out, is the singular. So it means if you are learning Hashem's Torah, even on your own, Hashem allows you to do that, then Hashem will come to you, singular, and bless you. So you see the Shechina is present, because the Shechina is like relationship, and there is the Shechina present, and God wants to be with you. So we've had 10, 3, 2, and 1.
Why wouldn't this apply to davening?
You one person davening Hashem isn't there?
Hashem is there.
No, I mean, Hashem is everywhere, but It doesn't apply to davening. I'm just wondering, it's clearly not. It's clearly not. I mean, Hashem is around, and Hashem hears your prayers. I don't mean to say not. But this phenomenon of Hashem making a special Shechina, visitation is true by learning. It's Azkir Shmi is clearly referring to. It's certainly referring to learning, and Hashem, you're allowing His name to be mentioned, and the mentioning of the name is somehow like the Torah. The Marsha says that it's like that whenever you learn, you can mention Hashem's name, but that's not the point. What was delaying me first? I don't have an answer to your question, but I was just trying to figure out what Rashi is trying to say, because Rashi says, well, the Rashi is a bit of an enigma to me upon reflection. Asher Azkir Shmi, so Rashi says it's like by line 30, if you will, like I'm not right. Asher, I think it's Yizacher Shmi, my name is mentioned. Al Pi, that's through mitzvosai u'devorai, through my mitzvahs and through my words. So I thought so I thought Rashi's coming to say like how Azkir Shmi is like learning Torah. So he's just saying my words, the devorai, but I'm seeing mitzvosai also. I don't know why Rashi says that, but once you bring mitzvosai in, so maybe that's if you want to get a shoehorn and drive your agenda, you could squeeze it. No, you can, that's be careful. A lot of people have an agenda to drive. They first decide they want it to apply to tefillah. Then they say, well, look, Rashi is mitzvosai, so you can you get the shoehorn and squeeze it in there. So, and there's an extra word there. I don't know what Rashi wants with mitzvosai. I don't know.
He's saying that.
I know. No.
He's saying that because only in Limud Torah you're allowed to mention God's name. Like this, you're not allowed to mention Lo Tisad Hashem Hashem L'Shav. No.
No.
What's Rashi saying?
Only
I don't know what Rashi's saying.
That's what's like.
For what it's worth, the article says, one who studies my commandments and teachings. So it's still about learning Torah, basically. Not doing commandments, but studying the commandments.
Oh. One second. Just, So fine. So I think let's go with the article here. I think what the article is seeing in this is let me speak up. Azkir Shmi only means I will cause my name to be mentioned. That's not really what that actually means. Is pretty ambiguous. What does it mean? Cause my name to be mentioned. So the understanding here is clearly meant to be learning Torah. That you can see the context. I don't need a parish to say that, because the question was, how do you know that a person who sits learning Torah by himself, Hashem, the Shechina is with him? And it brings a pasuk, B'chol makom azkir es shmi, whenever I mention my name. So somehow azkir shmi must be learning Torah. It must be. That's the proof we're trying to bring. So but the question would be perhaps maybe not just learning Torah. And Rashi comes to say something. What's Rashi saying? So I had thought, perhaps incorrectly now I'm thinking, that Rashi was trying to say, probably, certainly correctly, that Asher Yizacher Shmi al Mitzvos V'Devorai means like that my name is called to be mentioned through learning. And like the Marsha says you can say Hashem's name, it's not the Shav when you say his name. But I'm seeing it, that's not the proper reading, like the Art Scroll. And the question is what's the Mitzvos like? So I guess the way Art Scroll understands it, and must be correct, is Asher Yizacher Shmi, that my name ends up getting mentioned. Asher Yizkar Shmi, that when I'm learning, when someone's learning Torah through understanding the mitzvahs and the generic teachings that don't imply mitzvahs. Right, that's how I say it again. What the Arshkel said.
When one studies His commandments, God's name is mentioned when one studies His commandments and teachings.
Right. Okay. So it is like with the Marsha. Yeah. So that's what he's saying. He's saying that when you're learning Torah and the topic of your learning is mitzvosai and devorai, then you end up mentioning Hashem's name. And whenever Hashem lets His name be mentioned, that's when He shows up. So since Hashem lets you mention His name, then He's present. So okay, so that solves that problem. But your original question is why not Torah? Why not Tefillah? I guess the answer is the rule of. I don't know. I'm gonna say I don't know. Yeah.
The reason that I ask is because we know that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was in the cave for so many years. I'm sure he was davening during that time, and he was prevented from being able to daven with a minyan. Obviously, the Romans were after him, so he got supposed to davening with a minyan, davening by himself.
One second. One second.
I know.
Your question's a good question, but that is utterly irrelevant. Well, let me take it, like, separate them. It's irrelevant for like double reasons. First of all, we moved just here. I'm telling you because when you said text itself, that we lost track of the text. And the text, we had a question. How do you know 10? How do you know 3? How do you know 2? How do you know 1? And now along the way, when we mentioned 2, we said in parentheses, parenthetically, what's that pasuk talking about? L'chosh ve'shemo? That is not our topic. And it says, oh, that just tells you like totally PS, footnote. When you think to do a mitzvah, you get this hard as if you did it. But that's like, forget that ever happened. The structure is 10. How do you know 10, 3, 2, 1? And then, how do you know 1? Because the Hashem said, whenever Azkir Hashmi, whenever the name be mentioned, I'm there and I'll come bless you, singular. That's the story. So then, it's telling you here, when any scenario where Hashem allows names to be mentioned, meaning when you learn Torah, that is when the Shekhinah is also present and the Shekhinah is there special. The Shechina is imo. So you ask me, well, how do I know what about tefillah? Is the Shechina with you when you're davening? So like, I am the nod and end up just saying, I don't know, rather not the answer. Now, whether or not Shimon Bar Yochai got a schar for davening with me or not, I'm not Hashem's accountant, it doesn't bother me. But maybe he didn't. Like, let's say he didn't. He had to, whatever, he didn't. So what? It doesn't mean that. It could be that the Shekhinah wasn't with him when he davened or whatever. I don't know. So that's not my problem. That's not his problem. Shechina,
Yeah.
Yeah. And Hashem is always there. It's not some sort of special Shechina thing. Yes, David, you say.
If that's a pasuk for 1, what do you mean?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a great question. That's such a good question. In fact, like Gemara's going to ask you right now. That's right. The next move. That's a good question. But I'm still bogged down about the tefillah thing. Yeah. What makes for I don't know. I said I don't know to my question to myself, which is, what is the nature, like, when a person davens, what's the relation? What's the Shekhinah doing on the opposite side of him, if at all? The answer is I don't know exactly. It seems Shekhinah can come in like layers of intensity, so to speak. In other words, like if you're davening anyways to the minyan, so like if you're learning while the minyan's davening, there's Hashem already mitzvah there, and like there's 2 Shekhinahs there, so to speak. I don't know. In any case, that's the Gemara to say. 10, 3, 2, 1. The answer is, your question is a good question. Well, if you know 1, we need 2, 3, and 10. So here we go. Back up the chain. So Gemara says now. Now wait a second. Once you know that there's 1 is sufficient to bring the Shekhinah in, Trey me boy, what need is there to mention 2? So the answer is Trey nichtavan ma'alai will be sefer zichronos. Milai, I should say. If 2 people are there, then their words are written down in the Sefer Zichronos, the book of memories, as I explained to you before, whatever that would mean. But somehow there's some permanence to it, either a psychological permanence and or some sort of like heavenly record, recording of their words. But Chad lo michtavan milei the Sefer Zichronos. The words are not written down in the book of memories. Again, maybe that means in his own memory. Maybe it means in Hashem's collection of memories. Maybe Hashem's collection of memories is that's what's memorable, like the Meiri. Or maybe Hashem's collection of memories, like the Tzadok, is the collective consciousness of us, and that which is memorable to us is what is Hashem's memory books. I can't say. But in all cases, something for sure is different. When you're by yourself, it's not recorded in the same kind of way that too.
Marshall says that when you 2 are learning, you come more to the emes. So it's worthwhile to write it down and so on. But when a person's learning by himself, he can make a mistake, and it's not necessarily at the same quality or individuals learning.
That's nice. It begs the question, right? It begs the question, what happens if two people are pretty at learning compared to one person who knows how to learn? So is Hashem writing down there two and not writing down the one, or vice versa? Okay, anyways, I can't say. That's like, he's already giving a reason for why it should be. Okay, good. I don't mean Khalila to take away from the Marsha. It raises new questions.
It says they generally come to doesn't mean.
And when they do, it's written down?
When the two are learning, it's generally that they come to a true understanding.
Okay, good. I can't
And
add.
therefore the words are fit to be written down.
Right.
It's,
Good. So that's two. So one is Shechina is there, but not written. Things aren't written down. Two, the things are written down. So if you have two, v'chi ma'achad defilu trei tlasa mi boy went into three. Again, shin turning to a tough over here in Aramaic. Tlasa like shalosh. So shalosh mi tlasa mi boy. Who needs three? Ma'od tema. What might you have thought? This ma'od tema is like a function word that shows up all over the place. The phrase. Ma'od, what might you have otherwise thought had we not spoken this out? That dina, when three people sit to make it, din Torah, shlama ba'almahu. It's just making peace between people. V'lo asya Shechina, the Shechina doesn't come for that. Kamash malan, the dina nami hainu Torah. That the dina, that based in convening and carrying out justice, judgment, whatever it is, doing din, that is got a din of Torah. So there's two heavy-duty implications here of this sentence. I think major, fundamental implications. The first is that the ostensible basic role of a beis din is to establish peace in society, not to carry out justice per se, but the purpose is that society should have peace. So you have to have some way to arbitrate, disputes, because otherwise people will be fighting their neighbors. It's your fault that my ceiling is leaking, and I don't have to pay for it, yes, you have to pay for it. So they bicker about themselves. So at least once the basis says you have to pay, you don't have to pay, then the problem is solved, then get on with life. So that's making peace. But that's like the primary function, it seems like. That's a primary function of that's what you think, because you would think that because that's the primary function of what a din is supposed to do, or a beis din is supposed to do, to resolve disputes for the sake of making peace. Which is why this is such a heavy thing I want to tell you. If I ask the question, what do you think Hashem would prefer? Would Hashem prefer two people have a dispute? That they should make a pshara? That they should just say, let's divide it 50-50, or any other pshara is compromise? They should come to, amongst themselves, come to some agreement that seems fair amongst them, compromise and carry it out? Or should they go to beis din and have the beis din tell what the halacha is and let them carry out the halacha? What would Hashem prefer? People compromising, and even though it means that one neighbor pays whether you should have to pay and make her a din, or having justice carried out and having the beis din tell them, well, the din is you have to pay 100%, so you have to pay 100%. What does Hashem prefer?
Two people.
Compromise? But Hashem prefers compromise, right? That isn't din, that is Allah. Allah is Hashem, compromise is better than din, which is really remarkable. And I think it's very remarkable if you've been hanging around in the Beis Midrash for a long time, and you have been lulled with this false impression that halacha is an end in itself, and therefore, you want justice carried out because you want the din to be the din, whatever it is, and who cares about if you don't like it? But that's not true at all. You see that here very strongly, that what Hashem wants, there's a bunch if we're all individuals doing our Hashem relationship thing for 120 years while we're alive on planet Earth, but we have to interface with the rest of society, and we have to figure out how to deal with them also, and they are their opportunity for development of society, their own midos and their own halachas, whatever it is. But the point is that what Hashem wants with society isn't that it should be a society that's governed by the strict letter of the law. It should be a society that's governed by Torah law, of course, but that Hashem, above all else, above that, wants a society that's harmonious, and you would prefer people figure out their own disputes and get along happily ever after than to force upon them some din, because the Torah's dinim are not, they're not necessarily going to foster the standards of the burden of proof is very high in Torah law. For example, you have to have two witnesses, and oftentimes you can't do it or whatever. So a lot of times, or Muslim chaver lavaraya, or this ton of chazaka, whoever is, status quo retains itself unless it gets overturned by something more powerful. So like, that's not going to necessarily come out with what's fair in the common parlance sense of the term, right? But a lot of times you take some debates and the basin says, this is what do you want from us? Like, you haven't looked at your witnesses, or like he was there 3 years, he didn't make a complaint about it, or whatever the story is. So like, that's the din. Maybe we say, but that's not fair. That's a legal system. Legal systems are rigid in nature, and you can't help it. So if by the way, real, just so you should know, in the 21st century, the bati didn't work usually, for good or for better, is they end up making showers anyways. But for whatever reasons, psychological, social, and otherwise, end up trying to make compromise. But many dayanim are against that, by the way. Like many dayanim are, like, a lot of times they'll kind of throw a bone to the loser in the din Torah, so you shouldn't feel like really bitter about it, which is probably not. I'm not a dayan, so I can't say.
Ribbis.
Not ribbis. No. But I'm saying like they'll let him win on some point to get some concession, so you sort of feel a little bit. He wasn't totally, demolished in the court case, so you should feel good about it. There's a reason why the dayanim are doing it, and the dayanim who do that are. I'm not a dayan.
I think it's a halal, I think it's brought down in Shulchan Aruch that the dayanim should attempt to make a pshar first.
Attempt to make a pshar first. But I'm saying now once we're past that, it's now like who owes who money. So they'll say, okay, you owe him money, but he has blah blah blah, like he has some concession. So that's how it is. I'm not even a big value judgment on it, but I know there are many dayanim who are very opposed to that, because if the din is 100% in favor of one, which often is the case. So usually it's the moksuk who it's very hard to win here. So then too bad, the other person gets 0. So that's not going to breed happy neighborly situation, right? Obviously. It might be justice, and that might be the din, but it's not going to breed a happy society. So you see from this, just completely hear from it, you see from it that the dayan's role is to make peace, and perhaps that's the basis of why they do what they do. But in any case, I'm telling you from elsewhere in Sanhedrin that there's a preference for pshara. Dayan should make pshara because we want people to get along, and that's the role of the Beis Din, to try to make society function smoothly. Sometimes it means laying the law down, but preferably people they can agree amongst themselves. That would be even better. That's the first heavy-duty implication here. The second heavy-duty implication you see here is that, as important as that is, and fantastic, and a Beis Din doing that thing is a wonderful service and better than the chesed and everything else, like the Shechina wouldn't come for that. The Shechina wouldn't come for that. As important and valiant and noble and fantastic as that is, like the Shechina wouldn't come for that. The Shechina somehow has a special relationship with Torah. And therefore, that was a shakvataria. You might think it's just shalom. No, it also has a din of Torah, because they're applying the Torah, and it's a Torah in praxis, and that's... Else you can see it's better. Dayanim mumchin, who are carrying out justice, are like something like Torah plus. It's like not just Torah in the abstract, but it's Torah, in 3D Torah, in real life. That's actually even better, so to speak, in a way. It's a more potent Torah, and for that, the Shechina will come. So you see from here that the Shechina has a very the affinity of the Shechina is to Talmud Torah, and therefore what we're saying is for people who are carrying out being dayanim, that's Torah, like in real life, Torah lab, and that for sure the Shechina will come for that. Yeah, that's a heavy-duty implication. So I don't know if this answers your question about coming from the tefillah or not, but you see that the Shechina doesn't come for lots of important things; it comes for Torah specifically.
Second questions?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, no, just because there's the Maimon Chazal, this is when a man and a woman, they live in harmony, Shechina Shroy B'nei.
Right.
I'm just thinking about what you're saying now, that for peace it doesn't come, Torah does come, but there it's clearly it comes for peace.
So this is it's a very important question. So the Shechina, like I said, has layers of different manifestations. So the Shechina seemed to be like most, I don't know, perhaps most or extremely intensely present, like with the husband and wife together, like with Shalom Bayis. I don't know, I can't say most. But the point is that the reconstitution of like the two halves, the neshamos, whatever, is two, let's call it, coming together and like being in harmony and doing their thing, that is like a kli for Shechina to be there, for sure. For sure. That's like the Shechina, as the Mishnah heaven says, Hashem created all of the animals, man and woman, but he created Adam by himself, like without counterpart, even though he's both male and female, according to that midrash, whatever. But the point is, it's not about male and female. The point is, there's one being. Because to teach you that Hashem it was worth it to Hashem to make the whole universe to have a relationship with just a single being, a single human, Adam being. I mentioned, I just breezed over it yesterday with the Derech Hashem. That was his point where he was getting to, which I didn't build up on, which was the unique creature of all existence in all the universes, up and down, is the Adam, because he sort of spans both. He's a physical and a spiritual component together, which allows him to be what a man is as opposed to what an animal is or an angel is. So, when I say man, I mean like capital M, or woman for that matter. So like this, but the Adam that can have a relationship with Hashem has to have like the two components, like male, female, and one combined. That's why you need to have like the building block in Jewish society, the basic building block, the atomic building block of Jewish society is the pair, the husband and wife together. Which is very, very different, I should point out, from like the Western notion of what society is comprised of, which is a bunch of individuals. In Western society, Western tradition, Western civilization, there's always conflict between the needs and aspirations of the individual versus the needs of society. That's like, because there's two competing things. But that's not quite the Jewish notion. The Jewish notion is you have homes, you have a Bayit Nem B'Yisrael, and that home is one unit and has to reconcile itself with the needs of society. It's a very, very different attitude to what builds up society. Pairs of people, so to speak, or households, homes, the children are sort of subsumed in that versus individuals, and that's why Yishuk, Gufo, and so on, like the woman's considered to be like, and the man are like a single unit, as they're actually a single neshama. In any case, so because that Shechina is very present in that possibility of relationship that can't exist without, so that's why there's more, so it says, a man without a wife, he has no blessing, and has no good, and has no nothing, because like he's not a person fitting of having a proper relationship with Hashem yet. They're missing a piece. It's like a hole in the bucket, so to speak. So it can't fill. But all that, okay, well, that's period. So it's not really relevant to our story here. It's a different story. The Shechina's presence in that possibility. One thing that definitely is important is the Gemara will say, we'll get there eventually, as Hashem Brachos, it ends, Shemona Esrei ends with the bracha for Shalom. So you'd ask, like, wait a second. The requests were in the previous 13 brachas, the 13 middle brachas. What do you like? We're past that. We've gone on to now we're talking, Modern would say that we're done. What's this Shalom bracha, the 19th, like the last bracha of Shemona Esrei? Like going back to ask for Sim Shalom or Shalom Rav, like whoa, time's up. You're out of place. So it basically answers, well, the kli that you need to makabel these brachas, the relationship with Hashem is contingent upon having Shalom. Without Shalom, it's not going to work. That's why that's what you need. That's it. The ultimate is we need to have Shalom, and within that context, then the possibility of relationship can exist. And Shalom bias, without Shalom bias, there's no Shechina can't be there. And that's an important point across the board. In those society that's not harmonious, the Shechina will not be interested in being a part of it. Hence, you will see the ongoing theme in all of Jewish literature, the need to be Ishachar B'Levachad, and the need for Achdus and so on. There's a disparate, Adam that's Mefuzar and Mufurad is in bad shape and doesn't have a relationship with Hashem. It has to be, Vayicha Neged Ahar, it has to be like, the Jewish people have to be a single unit, with a single lay, like a single ratzon, to be able to have the proper relationship that Hashem wants with us. It's actually, ironically, we'll get to in a moment, in the next Talmud Hashem's film. But all that aside, somehow there's this there's this ongoing conflict in terms of supreme values in Jewish thinking between emes, Torah, and on the one hand, and Shalom on the other hand. There's a very big conflict that appears throughout Jewish life and Jewish philosophy, that you have these two competing supreme values. That really you need to have Shalom in order to be a kli, to learn and to have a relationship with Hashem and to have emes, but ultimately that would suggest that emes really is superior because that's the end in itself. If you want to have this, you want to have this, this human beings being reflections of Hashem, society being the kingdom of Hashem on earth and everything else, but it's only possible with the kli of Shalom. So it comes the question, what's more important than emes or Shalom? It's an ongoing conflict, and it will appear up to the very last line of our Gemara, when we end up saying, Hashem was long way to, whatever, we'll get there. But to the very end, this is an ongoing theme. Benching has it, ends that way. Our Masechta ends that way. And we need those two things. We need to have peace as a kli, to have a relationship, but somehow you see that ultimately it's the Torah, the relationship in action, that's when the Shechina is present. Okay?
Also, Shabbos is when Shechina is present at the Shabbos table. In fact, Shabbat Shalom, I mean, you can't get away from it.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, yeah. So Shechina shows up in lots of places and all over the time. Does it say that Shechina is extra present in the Shabbos table? I don't know about that.
I heard
We
that.
say it like Berkel's Kohanim.
Berkel's Kohanim.
Also getting benching, everything.
Like some of Shalom and so on, you're saying?
Yeah.
No, but benching, the lesser
Yeah.
bench, and also by when the Kohanim Duchen, Isa Hashem, Shalom.
Right.
It's also Shechina.
Right, correct. Yeah, the Shalom is, like I said, is the clean holder. It says by the Shabbos table, like if you walk in to Malachim there and they have to. But anyway, okay. The Shechina is, as I said, a different layers. I don't know which is more work or
Shabbos
less.
Queen.
Yeah. Yes, I'm not sure. I just don't know what the relationship is Shabbos between the Shechina, but I don't know. I just don't know. But in any case, so back in here, we are saying that Shechina, which is some relationship sort of incarnate, is especially there by three people who are carrying out the Torah, even though they're making shalom, that they're doing Torah in action, and for Torah in action, Hashem comes. Once you have three people doing the Torah thing, that's enough. Asara mi boy. Why do we need 10 people who? Yeah, that's the thing. But only davening with 10. Put out. So I lost my place. Asara mi boy. Okay, your question stands at the end now, to the bitter end. Your question is a good question. Because we say here now, like, look, we've conflated the davening and the praying thing here. We're like ignoring the fact that the 10 praying and the 3 were learning. We're not focusing on that. We just say the difference is that Talasa, we have 3 people there. So essentially, Asara, we have 10 people there. Kadma Shechina Va'asya. The Shechina comes first and waits around. But Talasa, if you have just 3, Ad Yasvi. Until they sit down to carry the Din Torah, the Shechina doesn't come. So maybe your question is so good that maybe it's not your question, was maybe the way the Gemara comes out. It sounds, now that we're learning it, it sounds to me, at least when 10 people are clear, when 10 people are praying, the Shechina is coming and it's coming first. So if the question is, what about one person davening the Shechina? I still say I don't know, but it certainly suggests that Torah is differentiating between learning and davening here. That's what I would have thought it would have said. But it didn't. It didn't say that. It says when 10 people are davening, the Shechina comes first and waits for them. It's present, before the minyan arrives, in anticipation. And people learn, the Shechina doesn't come until they get it, or it's Din Torah, but learn that the Shechina doesn't come until they're in action. So they sit down to go with action. So, for all I know, when the dust settles here, that davening and learning are on par. For all I know. I don't know. Someone see something? Okay, so maybe, I don't know, maybe the Shechina is present when a person davens. Because that's relationship, and you're affecting the relationship, but I don't know. No, it's Arachim, I can't say. I don't know. That's a good question, and it should be resolved. I don't exactly know how to look or where to look. I will look around and figure it out. Okay. Tov. Period. That's the end of that. Any other questions on the topic of the relationship with Tefillah yet?
The source from the Meraglim, isn't there another source, and that's the Tefillah of Abraham by stone for the 10?
The source for a minyan? No,
For minyan,
He didn't go
no,
below,
it does. It goes. We'll see.
he
We'll
didn't
see.
go below 10. He said 50, 40, whatever it was. But less
Yeah,
than-
but how does that show you? That just shows that Hashem won't save a world for fewer than 10 people. Save the city for 10 people. I mean, a different point. Yeah.
Korach had mentioned that.
Yeah, so Korach. So well,
Not the
no. So that we do bring in Korach as part of the meaning. We need it's a 2-step, because they are Shava to get to the Inyan of Torah Kedusha. We bring in Korach also. Yeah, Ada there, but that doesn't answer this. I think the stone 10 is like its own. I think the way the Mepharshim explain it, like they're focused differently. They say, oh, Avram already saw what happened with Noah, and there were 8 of them, and Hashem didn't save them all for that, so he figured 9 plus the Shechina 10, and like. But we're not talking about the Shechina being present. We're talking about saving a world, or whatever. I guess saving a polity.
I'm still troubled because we know the Hasidim are very much into Hitbodedut. And who are you talking to if the Shechina is not there with you?
Well, okay, so Hashem is everywhere, even in the toilet, and even when you're Hitler killing people, Hashem is present. I mean, I don't know. Hashem is
But
there.
Hashem is
everywhere. You know, it's not a function of Hashem. But there's something Shechina means like Hashem is. I don't know how to like exactly monitor, but Shechina means Hashem is like present in his function to effect relationship. Like Hashem is present in a more intense way. Whatever that means.
Does it matter who you are? Because obviously the Shechina was there with Moshe, with David and Melech.
What a question you're asking.
Does it matter who you are? If the
Hashem doesn't want to have a relation with people who are bad people, so it does matter, right?
Right.
But exactly the Dharma of our Shechina is Shechina like, is it quantitative, is it qualitative?
Right.
Is it just binary, either the Shechina is here or isn't? How the different Hashem being everywhere? I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if anyone is sure. I'm not sure like if that's like Hilchot Shechina right now, so to speak, or something to resolve this issue. I don't know. But the Hashem is everywhere. When you talk to Hashem, of course, he hears you. That's a no-brainer. I just am not clear. If Hashem is Shechina in this context, the special arrival, Shechina comes when people learning Torah, arrive for davening also. I don't know. It's not clear to me. And the Sugya doesn't come out here either to me. Okay.
Should come.
So maybe fine. Time here. Not great. But just 1 second. We should stop there. Was it a whole new world talk? Hashem is tefillah to get it down to the world. So we'll stop here for today. That's Hashem. Tomorrow we will see. Okay. Okay.